Part 82. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 820. The county has plans for the county. This is basically agriculture. The tax collected every year is just enough for the basic operation of the county. If you want to build more cement roads, you will need to raise funds. A sum, what to rely on in the future. By road maintenance. Give me a break. Today, they rejected Lu Feng, and they were also beating drums in their hearts. If they scared away these people, it would be a real challenge, but they were also betting that these people would not leave easily. As for the specific reasons, they did not know. They asked the above about the Northern Economic Development Zone, and there was news from the province saying, "Go ahead with your spring and autumn dream, Yexian mayor's heart is half cold." But it doesn't matter, they can continue to hold up this banner to confuse these companies, as long as they invest here and let them do whatever they want, because they are too poor. Now that Ge Quanshun called over the phone like this, the people present were obviously relieved. The mayor Yes tone on the phone was not good. He even scolded Ge Quanshun for a few words. As long as there are no major accidents, this matter should be fine, or that sentence, the Northern Economic Development Zone, whether it exists or not. We don't speak, we pretend to be dumb, and some people promote it for us, so how can people outside ask? Do you all know? Magistrate Yes said to the crowd, these businessmen are here, like a flock of vultures, hovering high in the sky, and they will fly down to take a bite as long as they benefit. But we don't have meat here, and if we want them to invest here, we have to think of a way. First of all, I think the key lies in the boss named Lu Feng. As long as he votes, others will follow. The next important thing is he is the one who works. Magistrate Ye looked at the time and said, "It's very late, everyone, go home and rest early. This night is destined to be sleepless for many people in this small county town. Those small bosses are too excited. The world described by the big bosses from the south is too easy. Money is everywhere, and the economic development zone in the north is a historical opportunity. Window, how could they not be excited?" Ge Quanshun got up from the bed and smoked a suffocating cigarette. The current situation is a bit chaotic, and it is not clear whether it is true or false, but he could hear the strength of Magistrate Ye on the phone. Where do the leaders of small places come from? Huang Hongsheng and several people can't sleep. They are also thinking about whether the TV set can be made into Maotai. If it is done on a large scale, they are afraid that something will happen. But many small places do have such an atmosphere. Compared with liquor, the TV is also practical. Early the next morning, the April morning in the north was still a bit gloomy and cold. The county was full of ordinary people. White smoke rose from the chimneys, and the air was a bit pungent. Occasionally, one or two people on the street could be seen riding a foreign chariot in a hurry. Going silhouette. There are no local newspapers, no local media, but there is still a lot of rumors about the Northern Economic Development Zone, and there are even many versions. Some people are privately saying that the country wants to acquire land, giving tens of thousands of yuan per mu of land. Those bosses some are money, bring the money in the truck. Whether it's true or not, at least the streets and alleys started to chat, which is a good thing for Lu Feng. During breakfast time, Lu Feng was sitting in the restaurant eating breakfast, and he was not used to reading without newspapers. Li Dongsheng came over with his breakfast, sat opposite Lu Feng and said, "I also listened to Mr. Lu's class last night, and I have to say that it is very appealing. If you have a chance, you can go to my company to give it to me. The management also attends classes, how about that?" "Really? Are you sure?" Lu Feng glanced at him with a smile. Said, "I didn't expect the partition wall to have ears, I was also careless. The loudspeaker is so loud that it is impossible to hear it." Li Dongsheng kept staring at Lu Feng and said tentatively, "It's a good way, and it will indeed open up a new path for Wiaputa. It's not necessarily successful, it's just a joke. Lu Feng seemed reluctant to talk about this. Lu Feng simply took a bite and left. Li Dongsheng took the bowl and went to Chen Weirong's table and said, "We'll see how he reacts. I think we should also give him some reaction." Huang Hongsheng agreed, "That's right, we are going to rob him of this plan and sign a contract with the county. If he backs down, we can just go straight. If Lu Feng is fighting for his life, it means that this plan is very executable." "I agree, do you want to inform Ge Quanshun?" Chen Weirong asked. "No, this person is not from our team, so be careful with Lu Feng. I still haven't figured out the profit model, or maybe it has something to do with the economic development zone." The three of them couldn't figure out the situation, but their experience of playing against Lu Feng over the years made them very vigilant. Back then, when Lu Feng ran to the Sichuan pit Changhong and ran to the northeast to ask for the account, there were too many twists and turns inside. Ge Quanshun had no intention of talking nonsense with these people. He had already arrived at the airport and waited to meet his people. He was convinced of Lu Feng's plan, so he needed to bring in legal affairs, marketing, and planning to compete directly with them. Back in the room, Zhu Lidong was sitting on the sofa smoking a cigarette. Everyone present was a little worried. They didn't know what they were busy with these 2 days. It seemed that the atmosphere was very tense, but they felt that they had done nothing. "Mr. Lu, Li Dongsheng asked so many questions just now, maybe he's going to do it. I think that the people like Niu and Hao have become aggressive today, maybe they will sign when they are hot," Zhu Lidong judged. "It's so easy for them to sign a contract like this. They're testing me." Lu Feng licked his lips and said, "If this plan can really make money, it was accidentally leaked. What state should it be? It must be crazy, all this lost is money," Zhu Lidong replied. "That's right, so now we have to act in a full set." Lu Feng stood up and said to the crowd, "Pack up and go to the county government." Huang Hongsheng and a few people were sitting on the second floor, just in time to see the hotel door. A few minutes later, they saw Lu Feng and a group of people hurried out. "This." Li Dongsheng couldn't sit still, and said to the two of them, "I feel very anxious, it won't come true, right? I can't let him do it under the ice. How about we go take a look too?" Chen Weirong couldn't sit still. The three became suspicious and decided to go to the county government to take a look. In the county meeting room, Lu Feng was sitting there waiting, with an enamel water cup in front of him, with boiling water pouring in it. The place looked rather rudimentary. Several tables were put together. "Just finished sweeping." The county magistrate heard that Lu Feng was coming, and was secretly happy. Although he didn't know what these people were nervous about, their competition had begun to intensify. "Don't care about speculation, even if it was air speculation, as long as the price went up, the local county leaders would love to help add a fire." A few minutes later, the county magistrate walked in slowly, and saw Lu Feng smiled and said, "Mr. Lu is here. I have a meeting over there. After a while, the province and the city will come down to convey the spirit." "Province and city?" Lu Feng frowned secretly. How could he be fat? Why is he still panting? It seems that there is really a northern economic development zone. "I've been busy recently, right? I actually came here to..." Lu Feng really didn't dare to tell him about signing the contract. Embarrassed. Before Lu Feng could find a reason, the county magistrate spoke first and said, "The cooperation thing you told me before was your company's TV set. We came forward to subsidize it, because the timing is different, so this period of time will not work. Taihang, because there are leaders above, you understand. So this matter, in principle, is not feasible." Zhu Lidong was already dumbfounded. Listening to his tone, it seemed that there was such a thing, and it was going to be announced soon. He looked at Lu Feng and felt a little shocked. President Lu actually knew about such a secret thing in advance. Lu Feng was also a little confused by the county magistrate yet. If it wasn't because he knew that there would be no circle in the north, Lu Feng would not have dared to assert that the other party was lying. In such a situation, I'll think about it again, don't worry, Lu Feng laughed. Magistrate Ye originally thought that Lu Feng was in a hurry to overweight, such as doing charity, investing in infrastructure, etc. in exchange for an opportunity. He also left room for what he said just now. Cough cough. The mayor of Yesyen cleared his throat, picked up the water glass in front of him and drank water, and asked Lu Feng if he was used to living here. A clerk-like person came in every 2 minutes, with a voice that Lu Feng could hear, in Ye County. Long-eared said, "Mr. Li from TCL wants to see you. He said that he is very anxious. There are also Mr. Chen from Skyworth and Mr. Huang from Kanka." "Okay, I get it." The county magistrate Ye said to Lu Feng, "I still have a few guests over there, so let's do it today. I think it's an aspiring young man like Mr. Lu who is very generous. I heard people say that you gave a lecture yesterday. It is said that men should have a pattern, and it would cost 180,000 yuan to invite beautiful women to dinner. What is this money?" Yes, Lu Feng smiled reluctantly. He always felt that he was in charge of all this, but now the county magistrate seems to be starting to play this game. 10 minutes later, Magistrate Ye received Huang Hongsheng in the office. The two exchanged greetings, and Magistrate Ye said, "I just sent Mr. Lu from Jiafeng Electronics away. This person is too annoying, he will give me a few when he comes over. 100 million, dare I take this position? To be honest, I don't like this kind of person who smells like copper." "How many billions?" Huang Hongsheng was shocked. Such a large investment seems to be expected. He calmed his mind and said, "This is natural, but I don't know what kind of investment method he has. Because if he can do it, we can also do it." "Do." "It's about the TV. There are so many people. I think you are the most reliable. Let me tell you this. You put the products on our side, and our county is responsible for selling them to you. We will soon be the economic planning area. Now, when the time comes for infrastructure construction, there will be more places to start construction, do you understand?" Magistrate Ye chewed through Lu Feng's plan and came up with a whole new set of things. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 821. Huang Hongsheng, Chen Weirong, and Li Dongsheng chatted with the county magistrate respectively, and the three of them all started to mutter about this matter, and they always felt that it was not fake. The three of them didn't speak when they went out of the county government gate. They just glanced at each other, got in the car and went back to the hotel to communicate with their team. Lu Feng and the others returned to the hotel. In the room, Zhu Lidong frowned and asked, "Mr. Lu, is there really a Northern Economic Development Zone?" "No," Lu Feng said firmly. "Then they look confident. If you don't have the confidence, you have to pretend to be confident. Otherwise, how will you make money? This matter has to be accelerated, and Li Dongshen's group cannot be given too much time to think, and there is another problem, that is this Yesyen. The more people who want to make a profit, the more chaotic it will be, so get it done as soon as possible." Lu Feng said solemnly, "Look for the phone numbers of Mr. Hao and Mr. Niu, we need to create a strong demand for them." And market. Zhu Lidong went to contact Mr. Hao and Mr. Niu, and said on the phone that Mr. Lu wanted to teach them how to make money and find a place to have a meal and talk. Mr. Niu immediately said that he would organize a whole sheep feast at his place at noon. At 11 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng went downstairs and went straight to the village. There was a large courtyard, a typical northern courtyard, before he could enter the door when he heard the sound of dogs barking inside. The door opened, and the yard looked quite empty. The 6 tile-roofed houses on the front were extraordinarily lavish. Mr. Niu walked out and said to Lu Feng, "Welcome Mr. Lu, our place is a bit shabby, Which makes you laugh? It's good, the big yard is much better than the buildings in the city. Lu Feng looked around and saw a vegetable garden not far away, as well as a dog raising area and several penthouses. There were not many people here today. In addition to Mr. Niu and Mr. Hao, there were also a few well-heeled local people, a folding table, a few plastic stools, and a disposable tablecloth before serving. The exquisiteness of the north is different from that of the south. It is more rough and eclectic. Several bosses present were smoking cigarettes and chatting about what happened in the county recently. Begin to serve meals: lamb chops, lamb chops, roast lamb spine, garlic fried lamb head, lamb trotters, etc. Put a table of dazzling lamb. 2 bottles of fen wine, took a glass of wine and drank it for a while. Mr. Niu said to Lu Feng, "Mr. Lu, if you have something to say, just say it directly, we will not see it." "Then I'll just say it straight." Lu Feng picked up a roasted lamb rib and took a bite. The meat on top of the rib was extremely crispy, and it was so crisp and crunching in his mouth that he couldn't care for it for a while. After speaking, after chewing hard for a few times, he said, "I tell you, the opportunity to make money is here." "A chance to make money?" Mr. Hao was interested. "That's right, and it's an opportunity to make a lot of money." Lu Feng put down his roasted spine and licked his lips and said, "You should already know about the Northern Economic Development Zone. Now my biggest problem is my competitors, you guys. I also know that many companies have come, and they are talking with the county government, and our prices are very passive." "Then we can't help you," Mr. Hao wondered. No, you are locals, which is very advantageous. You rely on the advantages of the locals and start to compete with me to squeeze out a few of them. The future is ours. I told you that day that the leaders of things, do you know there is a word? It's called hunting." Lu Feng said in a low voice to the crowd, "As long as those leaders are circled and used by us, is it not for us to have the final say in the future? How much do you think this is worth?" As soon as these words came out, not only Mr. Hao and Mr. Niu were frightened, but even Zhu Lidong, who was sitting next to him, was full of shock. This is how crazy it takes to come up with this idea of operating a puppet. It's not appropriate to do this, right? If something happens, it's a big deal, Niu always said worriedly. It's a big deal? How big can it be? Let me tell you, there is a lot of oil and water in it. The first benefit is that the state-owned enterprises in the county, whichever you want, will be the one you want. Then we will attract some companies to come in for a slaughterer. 1. How much does it cost? Lu Feng said to the crowd. Compared to raising sheep, this is the correct way to make money. I can assure you that in the next 10 years, you will be worth at least 1 billion yuan. 1 billion, Mr. Hao's pupils shrank in shock. "Mr. Lu, I just don't understand. You say that you earn so much money, so what are you selling? To do business, you have to have something." "I am a sheep seller. When I grew up, I slaughtered and sold meat." "I don't understand," Mr. Niu said with a wrinkled expression. "Let me put it this way, even if you can touch and see things, they are worthless. Our current business is a relationship, and it is the future development space. Of course, I will also use this relationship to do some small business. It's just one thing now. I hope you can help me squeeze those people out." Lu Feng lit a cigarette, raised his glass and said, "How is it? It's easy to rectify a person. The key is to look at money. How to get him? You have to make it clear." Hao glanced at everyone, and everyone nodded. "We are all locals, who doesn't know a little bit of idiots, and it's not easy to rectify individuals. Qian is good to say, it's done. Just relying on the head of the Northern Economic Development Zone, there is also money that can't be spent in this life. You are not messing with them, you are messing with me, and you are doing it for them, understand?" Lu Feng tried his best to keep his words simple and direct. Lu Feng knew that Huang Angshen's group needed to be stimulated now, otherwise they would keep watching, and if they waited, they might be exposed. After eating a meal for more than an hour and drinking a bottle of white wine, Mr. Hao and several people kept nodding their heads. They could help Lu Feng with everything, but the money had to be made clear. How much money is how much money, don't make those false, but Lu Feng kept giving them false promises. That's the situation. As for money, don't worry, it's done beautifully. In the next few years, you'll be worth less than 1 billion yuan. I'll make up the money for you. Lu Feng stood in the yard and hugged Mr. Hao. On his shoulders, he said very intimately, "Brother, can I cheat you? I'm also from the village. Everyone has suffered, and I can understand your feelings. Didn't I say that day, the pattern should be big? No matter how big the situation is, the money has to be made clear. The brothers have to settle the accounts clearly, and write them in black and white." A small boss next to him said to Lu Feng. "I don't have a brother like you." Lu Feng waved his hand and said disappointedly, "If you can't make it happen, you're just a day laborer, so I'll tell you one thing, money that you can see can never make you rich. Look. Don't think about the 3 melons and 2 dates that you can see in front of you. I'm worth tens of billions. I lied to you." A few people glanced at each other and felt that Lu Feng was right. They had money, so there was no need to lie to him. Mr. Niu hiccups and said, "That's fine, I'll start working tomorrow. How about that?" "Okay," Lu Feng said to a few people and walked out, getting into the car with the barking of dogs. Ge Quanshun's people had arrived, 7 or 8 people, returned to the county to settle down and heard that Huang Hongsheng and the others had gone to the county to talk, so he immediately went to the county without stopping. In the conference room, tea was brewed in an enamel cup, and the county magistrate sat in the main seat and said, "Mr. Ge, the current cooperation method is this way, and we have discussed with other companies the same plan. Here, in order to ensure that there is no problem with the sale of the goods, we will put another sum of money here, and we will tell the people that it will be easy to sell, and the capital turnover will be very fast." When Ge Quanshun heard this plan, his heart skipped a beat. But now with the gimmick of the Northern Economic Development Zone, he was still a little excited. After thinking about it, he asked, "If we cooperate, is there a requirement for the first batch of goods? What about the deposit? Today, the first batch of goods given by GFN Electronics is worth 20 million yuan, because our county is not only facing the market in the county, we can radiate many surrounding markets, and the deposit is 10 million yuan. In the afternoon, Konka, TCL, etc. several companies have raised their prices a little more." Ye county chief said calmly, as if Ge Quanshun was not worth mentioning at all. "Even the product plus the deposit is only 30 million yuan. With such a large sum of money being squeezed here, as long as the county acts as a hooligan, the average enterprise simply cannot bear it." "I'll think about it again." Ge Quanshun was still more cautious. "It's okay, in fact, there are many companies now, and we are also busy." Magistrate Ye took a sip of tea and said straight to the point, "Mr. Ge can't do it, just go back, you are also very busy." Ge Quanshun's expression changed. He, a poor county magistrate, actually drove him away. The more this is the case, the more Ge Quanshun can't leave. He knows it too well. The situation like this shows that the competitiveness is very strong and the profits are also huge. He wants to stay. "It's all right, I don't have much to do recently, so let's go back first and communicate on the phone." Ge Quanshun stood up and politely. "Okay, anyway, the competition is very fierce now. If you are not determined, there is no need to continue to stay, so as not to waste time," the county magistrate advised. "It's okay, let's go back first." After leaving the county government building, Ge Quanshun walked in a hurry. He couldn't understand that in just half a day, the change was so great, and the private competition between Lu Feng and his gang had become so intense. Is the Northern Economic Zone real or fake? Ge Quanshun muttered, if he cooperated with the county government according to this amount, he would not care about the risks in this area, but hoped to get more lucrative returns from other aspects. After 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Mr. Niu entered the hotel with a dozen or so sloppy young people, went upstairs to find Lu Feng directly, and wanted to have a good talk with him. Huang Hongsheng, Ge Quanshun, and the others were naturally shocked by such a big battle. Lu Feng walked out of the room and saw Mr. Niu for a moment, then walked forward and said with a smile, President Niu, what's the matter? Li Dongsheng stood at the entrance of the stairs and watched, whispering in his mouth, why do you feel like you are going to fight? I'm afraid it's going to start a fight. Looking at the situation, I don't know what happened. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 822. Mr. Niu shouted at Lu Feng, what did you discuss with the county? Did you raise the price? What's wrong? Lu Feng looked a little surprised, and said, what does this have to do with you? I didn't tell you yesterday, if you want to do something big, you must have a big pattern, and you must be ruthless, only you can be steady. Yes, I think you're right, so why should I let you do such a good business in the county? Mr. Niu stepped forward and said, I warn you, get away as soon as possible, or don't blame me for not doing it. You're welcome, and you. After Mr. Niu finished speaking, he turned his head and glanced at the crowd watching the excitement. Whether or not to leave is up to us. If you use this method, don't blame me for calling the police, Lu Feng said solemnly. Call the police? Report one and I'll take a look. A second-rate man stepped forward and pushed Lu Feng with his hand, mockingly, report. Report it? Don't push and shove, Lu Feng said with a gloomy expression, Mr. Niu, you are a local snake, I will let you, but about TVs, you don't make TVs, what's the use? Do you have to have a TV? This business can do anything, even mutton. Let me tell you, TV is no longer the main thing, but the economic development zone. If you know the situation, get out as soon as possible, you know, Mr. Niu shouted towards Lu Feng. Lu Feng's face was ashen, and he stood there without saying a word, looking helpless. He looked at Huang Hongsheng and the others, but did not speak. Mr. Niu cursed for a long time and left with the people. Which one is this? Since people let us go, let's go, anyway, I'm not very comfortable living in these days. Huang Hongsheng felt something, and after he finished speaking, he glanced at Li Dongsheng and Chen Weirong, turned his head to face Lu Feng, said, Mr. Lu, book your ticket for tomorrow, don't die here, it's not worth it. Okay, I think so too, Lu Feng sighed, as if he had made up his mind, turned around and went back to his room. In Li Dongsheng's room, there were more than 20 people standing or sitting, and the teams of the three companies all gathered together. At this point, whether to leave or stay has to be decided. For such a long time, the Northern Economic Development Zone has not heard any news. It is uncertain how many sets are there. It is better to leave early, Huang Hongsheng pondered, and you can also test Lu Feng, if he sees us leaving. If you get discouraged, then we can really go. It makes sense, but the Northern Economic Development Zone really can't find it, only the county is saying that we don't know anyone in the city above, otherwise we can inquire. Everyone unanimously decided to buy a ticket. In the evening, Lu Feng simply ate a meal, then took Zhu Lidong and the others out of the hotel, and drove directly to one of the few dance halls in the county. Ge Quanshun has been paying attention to Lu Feng's movements, and he is also secretly thinking about how many truths there are. Lu Feng went out. He seemed to be in a hurry. He asked the waiter, he should go to the dance hall. A middle-aged man in the Skyworth team came back and said, Dance. It shouldn't be, let's see. Ge Quanshun watched Lu Feng leave with his own eyes in the lobby. Before leaving, Lu Feng looked gloomy. As if he was going to kill someone, he seemed to be going to the Niu to settle the account. Compared with Shenzhen, the ballroom here is rudimentary and incomparable, but people are still very dissolute in twisting and dancing. Lu Feng knows that there is a gangster here who is famous locally, called Heza Ge. Boss, can you find a dance partner? Look for Heza, Lu Feng said towards the old aunt at the door. You're looking for Heza. Lu Feng really didn't have much thought to talk nonsense with her. This kind of thing was already familiar to him, so he took out a few $1,000s from his bag and put it in her hands. Heza is here, please. After crossing the dance floor and going up to the second floor, there was a row of benches on top of it, and there were several girls sitting there, among which was a thin and dry man with a bare upper body. There were more than a dozen people at the scene, laughing and joking. Brother Heza, I'm looking for you. It's a big boss. Big boss, Hazy raised his head and glanced at Lu Feng. He didn't know him. No matter in the county or in the city, he knew everyone with heads and faces, and said, Who the hell are you? Hello, we are. Zhu Lidong was about to introduce. We don't have the time to ink with him, so I omitted this paragraph. After finishing speaking, Lu Feng took out 10,000 yuan from his bag and threw it in front of Heza, and said, Do you understand? Damn, don't I have a rich man here? For 10,000 yuan, do you think I'm a poor man? Heza shouted. The girls next to them stared at the 10,000 yuan with wide-eyed eyes. Although this place was a waste of money, it was not as profligate as Lu Feng. Lu Feng didn't speak, he took out another 10,000 yuan and threw it away. What do you mean? Brother, draw it out. Lu Feng did not speak, another 10,000. You left it here, is it for me? Don't speak, another 10,000. That. Brother, what's your name? Just say something, I'm terrified of losing all your money. Then it won't cost 11,000 yuan. Lu Feng took out 50,000 yuan at a time, smashed it on the table, and asked, Do you know what to call me? Heza was already stunned. It was the first time he was so big that he was smashed by money. There should be 100,000 yuan on the table. This number, not to mention ordinary people, was a huge number for him. You didn't do anything, just throw yourself 100,000 yuan for no reason? Brother? No, Lord, Master. Dad. You pick one. Just call me brother, just one thing, bring your people, get me a knife, and follow me, Lu Feng said solemnly. Heza was startled. If this made him kill someone, he would have to weigh it up, and hurriedly stood up and asked, Brother, who are you going to do? Sheep. Sheep. 3 hours later, Brother Hazy came back. He and several younger brothers were covered in blood. The girls were dumbfounded, and they were dumbfounded. One of the younger brothers sat there and asked, Brother Heza, do you make money by killing sheep? I don't know, it's the first time I've seen this in my life. Several sheep were stabbed to death in Mr. Niu's sheep farm. The news quickly spread in the county. Just in the afternoon, he went to warn Lu Feng, and Lu Feng's response was so strong in the evening. Early the next morning, Huang Hongsheng and several people packed up their things and went straight to the airport after breakfast. In the breakfast room, Lu Feng was also eating. Huang Hongsheng said to Lu Feng, Has President Lu bought a plane ticket? Buy it. Lu Feng smiled at him and said, You guys go first, I'll be later. Lu is always late, still don't want to leave, Li Dongsheng teased, I heard that you went to the dance hall last night. I'm just going to play. I'm young, so I have to have a place to vent. Don't go out and talk nonsense. Lu Feng smiled shyly and ate with his head down. These people didn't take it to heart. After eating, they packed their things and went downstairs, quite as if they really wanted to go. Ge Quanshun stood upstairs and looked at the car at the door, thinking to himself that he would go to the county administration later. He didn't want to leave, he knew everything about last night. Now Ge Quanshun is very sure that Lu Feng is here for real. There should be very big profits in this matter, otherwise he will not put down the pager that has just emerged and come here to work on it. Although Ge Quanshun has not yet figured out the profit model, but Lu Feng is so desperate to do it, of course he wants to take the lead. An hour later, Ge Quanshun and his team went straight to the county government, and Huang Hongsheng and his party were almost at the airport. Huang Hongsheng's trick didn't startle Lu Feng. Instead, the county leaders couldn't sit still. In the county, the deputy magistrate knocked on the door of Yes Magistrate's office, walked over and said, "The gang is gone." "Who's gone?" Magistrate Ye was shocked. "Skyworth, TCL, and Konka are gone." Magistrate Ye was secretly annoyed in his heart. He opened his mouth and scared the group away. He pondered for a while, and suddenly said, "Go and stabilize Jiafeng Electronics and Panda, you can sign both of them. Call Jiafeng Electronics first, they are the most interested." "Okay, I'll do it now." A few minutes later, Lu Feng received a call. After listening to what the other side said, he secretly cried out in his heart, and hung up the phone, "Go to the county government immediately, these leaders in the county have no determination, they will be deceived by Huang Hongsheng." Out. "What's wrong?" Zhu Lidong didn't know what was going on, and asked, "Why are you going to the county government?" "Go and raise the bar with Ge Quanshun and drive up the price. You can't make them sign a successful contract. You need to continue to advocate. The knife has been sharpened. Where is it enough to kill one?" Lu Feng changed his shoes and hurried downstairs, got into the car and went straight to the county government house. Inside the airport, the plane was about to take off in less than half an hour, and boarding had already started. Huang Hongsheng checked the time and looked around, but he didn't find Lu Feng at all, and he didn't find anyone in Lu Feng's team. "Isn't Mr. Ge here?" Huang Hongsheng asked. Everyone was looking around, but they didn't find anyone from these two companies. Li Dongsheng also felt that something was wrong. These two companies were extremely determined and were not moved at all. In addition to what they heard in the toilet that day, they thought that Ge Quanshun had heard everything, maybe there was something they didn't know. More than 20 people from the three companies sat in the waiting hall and watched their plane take off, but Lu Feng and Ge Quanshun still didn't wait. "Call the people in the county and ask," Chen Weirong ordered. They spent money to find someone in the county to focus on these things. After the call was connected, the other side said, "There's something serious." Lu Feng and Mr. Niu got together and took people to Mr. Niu's sheep farm to kill. "I've lost several sheep, and now Mr. Niu threatens to let Lu Feng die here, and he and Mr. Ge have quarreled at the county government compound." After Huang Hongsheng heard this, the first thought in his heart was that he was being slandered, and Lu Feng and Ge Quanshun were looking forward to leaving. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 823. The three of them already felt that something was wrong, and after a brief discussion, they decided to go back. In the county council room, the county magistrate went to see Ge Quanshun in a hurry. The three left, but the two couldn't. They were still thinking about how the county earned money to build roads. These two also flew away. That way is really far away. Ge Quanshun was also a little anxious waiting in the conference room. Huang Hongsheng and a few people left, but Lu Feng really had no competitors. Once they reached it today, they would have nothing to do with themselves. "President Ge, please take a seat," Magistrate Ye walked in and said with a smile, "Is it because of cooperation? I went back and thought about it last night. This cooperation is still in progress. No one in the county has reached any agreement, right?" Ge Quanshun asked straight to the point. "You can talk about it, it's yours. In fact, I always think that GE is always the most reliable among these entrepreneurs. As for Lu Feng, he is young and not very stable, the county magistrate praised. Well, today I want to take the Panda TV factory into the bag first. Hearing this, Ge Quanshun was secretly delighted. Sure enough, the ultimate winner was himself. His thought was simple. As long as the short-term sales of the Panda TV factory were boosted, it would give people a feeling of promising future. Sold. The two chatted very happily, and the atmosphere was exceptionally harmonious. Lu Feng's car stopped at the gate, got out of the car and trotted all the way to the county government compound. He saw a staff member holding the materials and asked, "Where is the magistrate yet?" "It seems to be in the conference room." "Are you looking for him?" "Got it." After Lu Feng finished speaking, he ran towards the conference room and pushed open the door. When he reached the door, he just heard the magistrate Ye and Ge Quanshun talking about the prospect of cooperation. "Mr. Lu," Magistrate Ye was a little surprised. When Ge Quanshun saw Lu Feng gasping for breath, his heart sank, feeling that there was not much to do. "Didn't you talk about cooperation?" Lu Feng walked in and sat down. He took a glass of water and took 2 sips. The county magistrate Ye was a little confused by Lu Feng for a while. How could he feel that Lu Feng was here to help the fire? He didn't care about it. Even if Lu Feng was a spontaneous child, he was happy. Besides, Lu Feng is so active, so let him sign the contract quietly first. "I'm talking to President Ge now," Magistrate Ye smiled awkwardly. "It doesn't matter, we can talk." Lu Feng sat down and asked Ge Quanshun, "Mr. Ge is so interested? Have you ever competed with me? Just relying on the strength of the panda, it's not enough to see. If there is no competition, let President Lu do it. If President Lu has to finish the business in the world, then I will go home and farm." Ge Quanshun's words were a little unhappy. "Then go home and farm." Lu Feng leaned back on the chair and said contemptuously, "It's such a tiring job to do business, let me do it." "Didn't they leave today?" "Why didn't you leave?" "Of course I want to accompany President Lu," Ge Quanshun snorted coldly, his expression rather unpleasant. It was obvious that everyone had already moved. Lu Feng took a puff of cigarette and didn't give in at all. "I'm not afraid to say it bluntly, I also know some people here, not to mention you. It's that bullshit boss, so what? You can't even come, anyone who comes will have to be sloppy." Lu Feng's remarks are not insane, not to mention that in the face of the county magistrate Ye, he seems to be ready to cover the sky with this hand. Magistrate Ye's face was ugly, but he thought to himself, "I'll give you all the madness now, just wait, once the contract is signed, dare to try again?" "Mr. Lu, don't be so angry, drink water," the county magistrate reassured. "Both of them want to invest in our county, and they both want to occupy a place in the Northern Economic Development Zone, so, Mr. Lu, let's talk first. Mr. Ge, drink water." The county magistrate Ye pulled Lu Feng out, and the two stood outside the door smoking cigarettes. "Mr. Lu, let me tell you something, right now, we have been informed that the matter of the Northern Economic Development Zone is a firm decision, but we are not allowed to talk about it outside. That is to say, let me tell you, in our county. You can quietly arrange for some companies to come in, there are definitely not many places." The county magistrate Ye lowered his voice and said with confidence, "There must be you, the price of TV sets is so low, the county has a good reputation, you guys sell it faster, isn't it good?" The more Lu Feng listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. He looked at him with a frown and nodded, "Ah. Yes, what's wrong? What about this? Don't tell the outside world. I actually signed a contract with President Ge, whether it's stockpiling or the deposit, it's much higher than what we talked about that day, but you little brother, I think it's very good. If it was someone else, I really wouldn't tell him this." The county magistrate hugged Lu Feng's shoulder and said, "Don't spread the word when you go out, 30 million goods, 15 million guarantee, this is my utmost sincerity to you. Lu Feng squinted slightly, staring at the face of the county magistrate. This is not a good person. I didn't expect that a guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes would actually do such a routine entrepreneur. Seeing that Lu Feng was hesitating, the county magistrate said, I really can't make it any less. At most, the security deposit is less than 2 or 3 million yuan. You must not tell President GE about this matter, this is a special thing for you. Take care, you know. When Lu Feng heard this, he wanted to laugh. The other party really felt that he wanted to invest in this place. After signing this contract, he believed it himself, who was fooling around in the Northern Economic Development Zone. Okay, but I need some time to discuss it with corporate executives and shareholders. I can't decide this matter, Lu Feng declined. Mr. Lu, sign the contract first. It's urgent. It will be announced in 2 months. It's really impossible. If you want to arrange it, you won't be able to arrange it, the county magistrate said anxiously. I won't use it for 2 months. Isn't today the 20th? I'll give you an answer within 10 days, Lu Feng affirmed. Magistrate Ye still wants to persuade him to get it done quickly. Everyone is a friend. Anyone who can help him will definitely help him. It is really impossible to open a branch of GFN Electronics here, invest in a factory or something. Lu Feng could hear that he was going to eat himself alive, so he hurriedly found an excuse to get rid of it. The county magistrate Ye returned to the conference room, looked at Ge Quanshun and said, let's have dinner here at noon. Mr. Lu is young and has a bad temper, please forgive me, he was yelling at me just now, thinking 30 million plus 1,500. I won the contract with $1 million guarantee, but I didn't agree and went back. When Ge Quanshun heard the price, he was also beating drums in his heart, but there is nothing wrong with this matter, the more you spend, the more you spend. This price is not a terrible investment for pandas, and he said, then at this price, I will spend more. Can you sign this? Forget it, Quan Dang is going to make friends. Just as the county magistrate was about to agree, the office door was pushed open and a man in his 30s walked in. Leader, I have something to do, is it convenient to come out? What's wrong? Magistrate Ye stood up and said sorry to Ge Quanshun, then walked out and asked, what are you doing to me at this critical moment? There is important news. The Skyworth and Konka companies didn't leave. They went to the airport for a walk and came back. What? Are you back? Magistrate Ye was stunned for a moment, and then heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, you told me to come out, otherwise how much money would I have lost? The time for the welfare of the people has finally come. Back at the office, the county magistrate Ye looked at Ge Quanshun and sighed, Mr. Ge, things have changed a bit, and I didn't know what to tell you for a while. Now, I have to go to the city for a meeting. You go back and wait for news. No, it was fine just now, what's wrong? Ge Quanshun didn't know what he heard when he went out, but he came back like this, and he was a lot colder to himself, as if the situation had changed all of a sudden. Don't think too much, we'll talk in 2 days. Magistrate Ye began to see off the guests. Lu Feng returned to the hotel and saw that Huang Hongsheng and several others had returned, and he knew in his heart that the game had completely begun. Where did Mr. Lu come back from? Li Dongsheng asked Lu Feng. It's just a walk around the county administration. You guys are also very interesting. You said that you are the one who left, and you are the one who came back. If you are a man, just leave, Lu Feng said with a bit of agitation. I was going to leave, but thinking about how lonely Mr. Lu stayed here, how could we have the heart to let you stay outside and blow the northwest wind? Chen Weirong teased. It's all right, I'll send you off with my own hands. Lu Feng snorted coldly, turned his head and went upstairs. Going upstairs, Lu Feng instructed Zhu Lidong, play them again, call Mr. Niu, and call Heza. By the way, and let them meet at the door of the hotel. It is good. Half an hour later, Mr. Niu brought people number 17 and 8 with sticks in their hands, as if they were going to kill Lu Feng. They didn't even enter the hotel, they were just outside the gate. Said, has it reached this point? He is a local snake, how can he be afraid of Lu Feng? I'm curious, what is Lu Feng going to do today? It's just courting death to mess with others here. A few minutes later, Lu Feng walked out alone, and he's brought someone over. The two sides were arranging a gantry formation at the door. Full of anger, Lu Feng walked out, put his hands in his pockets, and he's stood behind him. P.S. People are doing public welfare outside, and the update will be unstable. Please forgive me. What? It's over. Lu Feng looked at Mr. Niu and shouted, I'm doing something with me. I'm giving you a warning for how many sheep you have. Next time it won't necessarily be a sheep. Really? You want to fight with me? Come and try. The second rate behind Mr. Niu immediately raised the stick in his hand and shouted, try it? There is not much to give here, and he immediately pointed to the other side and replied, you have a way to move me and try it? The two sides shouted loudly, as if a war was about to break out in the next second, but in the end it didn't start. Seeing such a situation, Huang Hongsheng muttered, hurry up. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 824. In the eyes of Li Dongshen, Huang Hongsheng, and Chen Weirong, Lu Feng has begun to tear off the last bit of his face, and the way of doing business has returned to a primitive state. I think you can always get in touch with this cow, Li Dongshen muttered. The others nodded in agreement. It was a very good choice to form a group with the local snake. Since Lu Feng gave up such a good partner, they could get in touch. With the return of the three companies, Magistrate Ye also understood that this was the last chance in the county. If they were allowed to leave again, they would really leave. As for what medicines were sold in Lu Feng's gourd, Magistrate Ye didn't care. In the county meeting room, leaders at all levels were already seated, and the county magistrate Ye looked at the crowd and said, today is one thing, it is about our county's absorption of Southern Enterprise funds and common development. I tell you, this matter it's very important, and it's a key factor in whether our county can develop. I have already reported to the secretary that whoever blocks this matter will be against the people of the county, and will be sinners through the ages. Seize the historical opportunity to achieve breakthrough development, and take this opportunity to complete the county's main road hardening goal in one fell swoop, so that the product goes out and makes the industry come alive, which is a hard goal and a hard bone to chew. The people present nodded one after another. The words had already come to this point, and everyone understood in their hearts. Northern Economic Development Zone, I ask you, do you have any? Do you have any? Magistrate Ye asked the crowd. Yes, everyone answered with little confidence. Yes, this is not what we said, this is what they said, so, we have to meet other people's ideas. The county decided to hold an event, the Northern Economic Development Forum, and become a signing meeting. First of all, we are a joint enterprise for the welfare of the people. We will focus on purchasing TV sets, VCDs, washing machines, etc., no matter what they have, we will all have them. Second, establish a Northwest Strategic Foundation, and let them invest money in it in the form of a security deposit or other names. The money is theirs, but we will manage it. We must keep the money locally, use it locally, and continue to benefit the people. It's not that we won't give it to them, but there is a time limit. Of course, these don't need to be reflected in the contract. Take the process to block, as for why they invest money and cooperate with us with products. It's very simple. When someone asks about strategic investment in the northern countries, don't tell him anything about the development zone. Just say the next Shenzhen. It's that simple. The country will spend tens of billions of dollars. Everyone nodded. The matter has come to this point, we can only cooperate fully. Several companies began to fight openly and secretly. The county has a unified voice from top to bottom, and the wind direction of public opinion can be controlled in this small county without any effort. After Mr. Niu received a call from several people from Huanghongshen, he was also stunned. For him, these bosses were all high-ranking existences, and they were not rich enough to sit together, and the levels were different. Now these bosses are coming to please him, which makes Mr. Niu feel very comfortable. After a brief understanding on the phone, he is more and more curious about the Northern Economic Development Zone. Why are they all talking about it? Mr. Niu called several chiefs in the county to ask, but the other party said vaguely, so that he should not ask more about what he should not ask. Then is there such a thing, Mr. Niu wondered, he couldn't ask anything in the county before, which made him mutter in his heart. Let me tell you this. If you say yes, he will have it. If you say no, he will not have it. If the leader says yes, then yes. If the leader says no, then it means no. Do you understand? Enough, just hung up the phone. Mr. Niu listened to the blind tone on the phone, and the whole person was numb. This is the real thing. In the evening, in Mr. Niu's house, Huang Hongsheng, Chen Weirong, and Li Dongsheng sat at the dining table, looking at the table full of mutton, and couldn't swallow. Mr. Niu, you have to be careful about that Lu Feng, he's not a good person, Li Dongsheng said to Mr. Niu, this person is notoriously bad in the industry. How many sheep died? There are not many, but I can't swallow this breath. The county said that there is really some kind of Northern Economic Zone, and there is still a forum. I heard that the country will spend tens of billions of dollars. Is it true? The crowd was suspicious. The three looked at each other, and Li Dongsheng asked, who told you? I heard a little bit of wind in the afternoon. To be honest, I didn't believe it at all before, so I called the county and was vague with me. Mr. Niu boasted, I used to say rudely, the county magistrate. I know the color of my wife's panties, I am vague about this, so there must be something wrong. A few people smiled, this matter has basically been settled, and the next step is to wait for the announcement. The three of them at the dinner table chatted with President Niu a lot of ideas. Originally, he just wanted to cooperate with Lu Feng in acting, but now he is really tempted. With the investment of tens of billions of dollars from the state, even if a little drizzle falls on him, it will be a golden rain. This area is really going to become a Northern Economic Development Zone, then the construction industry alone will have enviable profits. For them, as long as it is a business, they can do it. Konka and Skyworth can completely get a subordinate building company. The four of them sat there chatting with enthusiasm, their expectations for the future were so fanatical, as long as the two sides cooperated and squeezed out Lu Feng and Ge Quanshun, there would be no problem at all. Ge Quanshun has not been idle. Now the competition is so fierce, it is the top priority to have a good relationship with the local snakes. Mr. Niu has been robbed by the three of them. Ge Quanshun found Mr. Hao. Until the evening, the news from the outside had spread to the streets and alleys, and the common people knew that something big happened in the local area, and now no one suspected it was fake. In the private room, Lu Feng and Zhu Lidong were eating. Today's meal was good. Zhu Lidong said, Mr. Lu, Du Guoying called and said that Nokia needs to deliver the goods and needs your signature. You don't need me to sign it, just ship it directly. The sooner the better, you ask Du Guoying to agree with Elmi. It's better to bring the goods of several 100 million directly. Anyway, it can't be less than 100 million. Lu Feng ate the sheep. Miscellaneous. Okay, I'll call him back later. The matter here should be over soon, and we will see life and death at the end of the month at the most. I didn't expect that the county will eventually hold up this big net. How many fish can be caught is up to them, Lu Feng muttered. For small county towns, this kind of thing is not too much. Many counties are very poor. For the sake of money, they can't wait to mortgage their local industries, taxes, and enterprises, and develop their lives. Although such a thing is not glorious, it is already very exciting to be able to collect some funds to operate locally. After dinner, Lu Feng walked out of the private room door and instructed Zhu Lidong, "Let Heza prepare, it may be an eventful season recently, just tell him, I'm not short on money, 180,000 are appetizers, and 180,000 is also it's not a big dish, let him think for himself." After Heza received the news, he was so excited that he couldn't help himself. This was simply a pie from the sky, and it was his favorite Sangxian stuffing. In the ballroom, Hazy returned to his seat and said to the crowd, "I tell you, recently, they have been giving me a humming boost. Boss Lu is the master." Boss Lu said, "To kill sheep, we will never kill dogs, understand?" "Understood." The next day, Mr. Niu made a nasty remark. He wanted to let Lu Feng know what a local snake is. A total of 10 sheep died, and each sheep was compensated 10 million yuan, a total of 100 million yuan, otherwise Lu Feng would not be able to get out. This county. Today, the phone in the county is very busy, and people keep calling, and even the enterprises in the provincial capital have begun to inquire about things here, for fear that enterprises in other provinces will take advantage of it. Lu Feng called the magistrate yet and asked him to have a meal at the hotel at noon, but Huang Hongsheng and the others did not make an appointment with the magistrate yet. At noon, Lu Feng served Heza 3 tables of meals and let them eat and drink not far away. 10 minutes later, the county magistrate Ye came and greeted each other for a long time and invited them into the box, while Huang Hongsheng and the others were at Lu Feng. The private room on the left, and Ji Quanshun on the right. You sit, Lu Feng politely opened up the chair for the county magistrate Ye himself. "Little Lu, it's still pretty good to do things. You've been here for a while, how do you feel about us?" asked the county magistrate. "Excellent people, the little girl is good looking, and the young man is also energetic," Lu Feng praised. "It's mainly because of a good leader like you, everyone's faces are full of vigor. It's too good, today, just eat, don't talk about other things, you know, the day after tomorrow we will open the Northern Economic Forum, then we will choose a few companies to cooperate with, it's very simple, whoever has the most favorable conditions, let's work with whomever, and we can pick 2 at most." Magistrate Ye is so smart, he just doesn't explain it, just let you fight, and in the end he quietly signed everyone, and none of them could escape. "You have to cooperate with us, we are a big company," Lu Feng's voice increased several times and shouted, "the rest are also worthy of being called companies." "What? Let me tell you, if you cooperate with me, you don't need 2 places, 1 is enough." The sound was so loud that the left and right sides could hear it clearly. Huang Hongsheng and the others just picked up the chopsticks and put them down, not in the mood to eat. Mr. Niu was also angry. Lu Feng was a liar. He told himself that he was acting. Good guy, he almost played himself. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. Mr. Niu slapped the table and shouted, "Damn, I am a local who is still afraid of him. Make trouble with him." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 825. Huang Hongsheng saw that Mr. Niu was taking advantage of the wine to do something, and hurriedly said, "That's right, where is there such a bully, isn't this just sitting on your head and pooping? But you can't do it in the past, because the county magistrate is still there," Li Dongsheng helped analyze. "The most important thing is that he is a big boss, and you can't kill people directly. If you want me to tell you, just find someone, give him a memory, break his leg, Open a hole in his head, whatever. Chen Weirong sat aside and said very much for his sake. Mr. Niu was not a fool. He directly put eye drops on the head of Ye County. He couldn't do it. After a few people summed it up, Mr. Niu stood up and went out with a glass of wine. Knocking on the door of the box next door, Mr. Niu said with a smile on his face with a wine glass in his hand, "The county magistrate is also here. Today is such a coincidence. I originally wanted to invite you to dinner, but I didn't expect the time to be so untimely, so I had to come over to pay respects." "A glass of wine? Who are you drinking here with?" asked the county magistrate. "It's just with Mr. Huang, Mr. Li, and Magistrate Ye. No matter what you say, I am also a local. I have supported your work in recent years. Everyone helps each other when you have anything. I can't say Lulu. Always friends, others are not friends." Mr. Niu glanced at Lu Feng, put a hand on the shoulder of Magistrate Ye and said, "You, keep your eyes open. These days, people are ghosts sometimes. I can't tell." "Hey, hey," Lu Feng tapped the table with his chopsticks and said, "Mr. Niu, what are you talking about? Mr. Lu, learn better at a young age. I heard something recently and realized that I underestimated you." Mr. Niu bent down and said to the county magistrate, "I'll give you a toast. I'll do it. You can do whatever you want." Don't. Magistrate Ye is good to Mr. Niu and Mr. Hao. They have been the mainstay of the county's economy in recent years. If the two of them invest together with these people, the money will not be good. Retirement, fertilizer factories, and sheep farms have problems, and many towns and villages are involved. What do you compare to others? What level of entrepreneurs are they? What kind of coax are you making as a sheep farmer? Boss Lu is internationally famous, so don't make a fool of yourself." Mr. Niu was suddenly unhappy. He always felt that because of his relationship with him, there was no problem between the two. He didn't expect that the change was so fast that he would not recognize anyone if he turned his face. "Maison Ye, I've helped you a lot with some things. Now that it's good, I'm just playing with the rich, right? Do you look down on me?" Mr. Niu said with a bit of anger. Lu Feng also understood the difficulties of Magistrate Ye, so he simply said directly, "Mr. Niu, don't be so excited. Investment is risky. If you lose money, isn't that tricking you?" Mr. Lu's words make sense. The county magistrate was a little surprised. Now when everyone is in a fever, he was surprised that Lu Feng could say this, but he still wanted to persuade Mr. Niu and Mr. Hao not to get involved. You. It's just that you don't want me to get involved, aren't you just afraid that I'll make money?" Mr. Niu was completely angry. He has always been able to be a human being himself. Wanting to get rid of himself, he stared at the county magistrate and shouted, "I didn't offend you, but what you did makes me despise, disgusting. Very disgusting. Mr. Niu, don't get excited. No one wants to harm you. Magistrate Ye and I are good people," Lu Feng advised. Ha ha, good people? Good people who are afraid that I will make money? Only you can earn it? One by one, do you really think others don't know about it? The Northern Economic Development Zone, the state will invest tens of billions. You guys, these people are cooperating in the sales of TV sets, and they are on the security deposit, aren't they just to flatter him?" Mr. Niu said loudly, taking advantage of the wine. Magistrate Ye didn't expect Mr. Niu to be in such a state after drinking too much. The voice was so loud that everyone in the surrounding private room heard it. He was hesitating how to persuade him. Unexpectedly, Lu Feng stood up and said, "Don't talk nonsense after drinking some wine. If there's nothing, it's just rumors from outside. You can't talk nonsense, you know." "What the hell did I say? You still want to bluff me? Don't think I don't know what you want to do. Don't you just want to monopolize the market here? I tell you, don't daydream, Everyone else has to live, the business is done. Let me tell you one more thing, you can't get anything in the end. In the end, you need honesty in business. You can fool people once, and you can fool people for a lifetime, Mr. Niu landed with his finger. Feng preached. Magistrate Ye leaned on the chair and smoked a cigarette. He had stopped talking. He understood that Mr. Niu had already firmly believed that this matter was true. Anyone who told him a lie was trying to deceive him. Mr. Ye, if you have something to do, you can leave first, Lu Feng relieved him. After Mr. Lu said this, I remembered that there is still a meeting, so I will go first. Magistrate Ye stood up and greeted Mr. Niu a few words before walking towards the door. When he opened the door, he found Huang Hongsheng standing at the door of the private room. Li Dongsheng, Ji Quanshan, Chen Weirong, and others. After a few words of greeting, the head of Ye County walked downstairs without looking back. In the private room, the atmosphere had dropped to freezing point. Huang Hongsheng stepped into the private room, the atmosphere was a little depressed. Lu Feng leaned on the chair and looked at the people, lit a cigarette, and asked, "What's the matter? Brothers, are you here? Do you want to do this twice?" Mr. Lu is still so arrogant, he makes two gestures at every turn. Huang Hongsheng leaned on the back of the chair with one hand and held a cigarette with the other, and said to Lu Feng, "In business, we can only do it together if we do it together, so why bother?" "That's right, peace makes money, everyone here is outsiders, why are you so stiff?" Li Dongsheng also said in agreement. "Yo, it's all pretty good now, it's all my own, why didn't you say this when we joined forces to suppress Wiaputta?" Lu Feng's expression sank, and he shouted at the crowd, "I tell you. If anyone dares to stand in my way, don't blame me for being rude, believe it or not, I will buy his life with money." Mr. Niu refused to accept it, slapped the table and shouted, "You are staring at the goddamn eyes, where is this? Let me tell you, I am now working with Mr. Huang and the others. As for you, get out of my way tomorrow, or else give something. Don't blame me for anything." He, the dog jumps off the wall. Lu Feng took a sharp puff of cigarette and said with a gloomy expression, "I only allow you to bully people, I can find some way, each dog's nose is called a spirit, and all the humming follow me. I won't leave, and I put the words here, the contract this time is the hope of the entire Jiafeng group, whoever dares to bark with Laozi, don't blame Laozi for being rude. Hum it, don't take your father seriously." Niu threw the cigarette butt on the ground, raised his hand and hit Lu Feng on the head. Lu Feng is the one who suffers, he has already put his hand on the chair next to him, grabbed the chair and smashed it on Mr. Niu's head. "Don't fight. Don't do it. It's not good to fight, everyone calm down." Huang Hongsheng shouted, leaning back, for fear of hitting him, but he lifted his feet and kicked Lu Feng. This man is impeccable. With the stool in his hand, Lu Feng smashed Mr. Niu directly on the head. Others dared not approach. Mr. Hao and Ji Quanshan even exited the private room. Zhu Lidong, who was waiting outside, saw that there was a fight here, and hurried over and shouted, "Mr. Lu, are you all right? I've been humming beaten, what are you doing? Call Heza to come and hum him," Lu Feng shouted towards the door. Ji Quanshan and the others hurriedly stepped back and stood directly in the lobby. They muttered to themselves, "Lu Feng is so shameless, Mr. Niu almost made him kill him with a stool, and said he was the one who was beaten." The people in the hotel also noticed the noise in the private room. The foreman wanted to rush over to take a look, but he saw a group of Heza rushing in fiercely, so he hurried back in fright. He rushed in without saying a word, opened his bow left and right, slapped the road, and shouted, "I dare to do something with Mr. Lu, it's humming boring? I'm going to die for it." A dozen or so people beat up so many, naturally they hit the ground and beat him wildly. Lu Feng walked out of the private room unscathed. Looking at Huang Hongsheng and the others lying on the ground, he crouched down and asked, Do you know how I got into trouble? Come with me for this shit. I know you guys are also personalities. You can also let me let go of you today. Huang Hongsheng was beaten with a bruised nose and a swollen face. Lying on the ground at this moment should be the most humiliating moment in his life. His fists were clenched. Mr. Liu, is this how business is done? Do you really think you can sign a contract like this? Huang Hongsheng gritted his teeth and said, let's stay as a person and see you in the future. Do you think about your future? Lu Feng said solemnly. My name. Oh, it's just a slap, what a big deal. You have been running around for so many years, yet you still have such a heart. Huang Hongsheng struggled to get up, stared at Lu Feng and said with a grim expression, Master, I can go. Is it? Ha 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 ha, let's go. Remember, hurry up and book your ticket, the farther you go, the better. Lu Feng smiled and looked like a villain. Several other people also called Shen Ye, stood up and left, not to mention being aggrieved one by one. The worst one was Mr. Niu, whose face was covered in blood, looked gloomily at Lu Feng and Hazy Eye, and said, Master, let it go. I'll go for a ride. His voice is very soft, but his voice is very hard. Anyone can hear the unhappiness in his heart. He doesn't need to ask. Lu Feng smiled and said, go away. The scene was a little messy, only Heze and a group of brothers were left. Lu Feng stood up and took out the remaining 20,000 yuan from his bag and handed it to Heze. Take the brothers out to play, the bank will open tomorrow, I'll give you a generous sum, don't worry, follow me, I won't treat you badly, I am always the best for my brothers. Thank you, President Liu. Hazy Eye grinned and seemed a little unable to let go, so he got into a fight. He felt embarrassed for giving so much, and said to the younger brother behind him, call it President Liu. Thank you, President Liu. A dozen people stood up and bowed. It's all right, let's go play. Lu Feng waved his hand. As soon as Heze left with his forefoot, Lu Feng's expression changed and he instructed Zhu Lidong, go back to your room quickly, tell everyone, pack everything within 15 minutes and check out. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 826. 10 minutes later, Lu Feng's entire team checked out and drove straight to another hotel. As soon as he checked in, Lu Feng called the county magistrate Ye and told him that he had changed places. He didn't say why. Magistrate Ye was a little surprised by what happened tonight, but he could feel that the competition among this group of people had reached an unprecedented level. Mr. Liu, we had a good conversation tonight. No one wants to see such a thing happen, but I can feel your sincerity, and we have some understanding of these companies during this time, and the county is consistent. I think GFN Electronics is the most suitable. The county magistrate Ye's voice was very serious, and he pondered for a while. It happens that several departments are there, I will also give a chance to sign the contract, so as to save the uproar. What? Lu Feng was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect the county magistrate yet to regard himself as the first target. He organized the language and said, I still think that I should wait a bit longer. I will defeat them in an upright manner. No, you sign first, transfer the goods and funds, and on the day of signing, I will announce to them directly, and they will give up, and you will really defeat them completely. The county magistrate yet told Lu Feng describe the scene of that day. Our company's organizational structure is not the same as that of ordinary companies. I need to discuss with them about the specific amount of money. After the capital is over 100 million, it needs to be approved. Lu Feng made another excuse. The value of the goods and the security deposit can add up to 99 million. I'll call over to discuss it, and I'll give you the news right away. You must not sign with other companies, Lu Feng urged thousands of times over the phone. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief, and Zhu Lidong asked, what's wrong? What a liar, actually trying to lie to me. Let's have dinner first, we're in the hotel today, don't go out, It's easy to get into trouble, Lu Feng ordered. Mr. Niu went to the hospital first and took a brief look at the injuries. Most of them were skin injuries. He was already looking for someone in the afternoon, and this was definitely not over. As a local celebrity, if he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be able to get along in the local area. In less than an hour, he found more than 20 second bastards and drove straight to the hotel. Huang Hongsheng and several others also briefly treated him in the hospital. They just went back when they learned that Lu Feng had left. For them, this bad breath is definitely a shame they will never forget. At most, everyone is doing a little bit of action in the shopping mall on weekdays. They started in the market, and now they were beaten like this by Lu Feng. They couldn't hold their breath. At the same time, they also thought to themselves that the cooperation with the county government this time was not just a matter of making money or not. Development to this day, Jiafeng Electronics fell down, only to spit out the evil in the heart. Li Dongsheng and Huang Hongsheng gave Mr. Niu 1 million, and they only demanded one thing, that is, Lu Feng should be abolished. Since you, Lu Feng, came first to set the rules of the game, don't blame the brothers for being rude, as if someone is a soft-hearted person. Mr. Niu asked around and couldn't find Lu Feng, and finally found Heza in the dance hall. Heza didn't know where Lu Feng was. After the fight, he passed out, and the two sides were in a hurry, and a younger brother died on the spot. If this happened decades later, it would definitely be a big case, but now it's not a big deal. If a person dies and pays tens of thousands of dollars, he won't be able to serve a few years in prison. Caring people. For Mr. Niu, tens of thousands of dollars is equivalent to a drop in the bucket. Under the night, this small town in the northwest is extremely dark. The dark clouds above the sky gather strength. It is already the end of April. A gust of wind blew up, and a blast of thunder ripped the sky in half. The rainstorm arrived as scheduled, just like an alarm clock. Lu Feng stood in front of the window and opened the window. The smell of rain splashing on the dry soil penetrated nostril. Thunder and rain, you're destined to not be able to sleep. Lu Feng looked outside, but he was thinking about something. When he came, he thought about going to the countryside and changing the home appliances to promote Wiputa. He didn't expect Huang Hong to become a group. People actually followed him, and he didn't expect that the county was so poor. In today's counties, people are basically poor, and some words are inconvenient to say. However, some of the situations in those days were really extreme. As long as they could get money, they would do and sell everything. They said that people were poor and short-minded. It is said that ordinary people, even the most powerful leaders, can hardly cook without rice. Enterprises win over places, like Lu Feng and Huang Youwei before. It is a very successful cooperation, but there are many enterprises that eat up places. There are even more people who kill companies in the local area. I don't know how many people have a meal with the leaders, and they swear at the dinner table. Once the company is registered, the money is poured in. I'm sorry, everything has changed. It doesn't matter whether you are an entrepreneur with hundreds of millions or tens of billions, even if you have the hands and eyes of the sky, sometimes you may not be able to reach this small temple. Magistrate Ya originally thought that Lu Feng was so excited that he was the first to put him in, but he didn't expect this guy to not go in, which made him feel a little guilty. Ge Quanshun and Mr. Hao were the most stable. They didn't participate in the fight, nor did they have so many grievances. They had been standing by and observing everything. During dinner, the two of them got together and talked about the cooperation with the county government. Mr. Hao said, "I think this evening is an opportunity. Lu Feng has already had a hard time with those bosses. We can take advantage of it. Taking this opportunity, call the county magistrate. Yeah, maybe you can sign it." "I can try this one, but I'm afraid the price will be more expensive, and I have to clarify one point." How many projects will be in our hands in the future and how much profit will be made, we have to ask these clearly. Ge Quan-shun thought very clearly. Anyway, they are all rubbing the name of the Northern Economic Development Zone, and the contract must be clearly written. In this way, the panda equity in his hand is also easy to sell. If he ties these projects to sell, the price will definitely go up. Mr. Ge, it's up to you to figure it out. I'll give you a toast. If you have any investment in the future, take me with you. I might be able to follow you this time. Mr. Hao raised the glass with a smile. We too are smart people. People like Lu Feng are young people after all. They are too aggressive. They go out to make money, not to fight with people. Ge Quan-shun smiled inscrutably and touched it. He drank the cup and said, Langtoking is Langtoking after all, the city is too shallow. There was a knock on the door of the private room. Mr. Hao said that he came in, and a man in his 40s walked in and said in a low voice, Mr. Hao, something happened. Mr. Niu brought someone to trouble Lu Feng, but no one was found. I went to find Heze, and they started fighting, and I heard that one was killed on the spot. Oh, it's fatal. Mr. Hao was stunned and said to Ge Quan-shun, then now should be a good time to call the county magistrate Ye. Then get in touch. Magistrate Ye didn't even eat dinner because he was worried. He wanted to call everyone, but he was afraid that he would be too proactive and make these people suspicious. Now he can only hold back and see what happens tomorrow. The phone rang suddenly and answered. Who is it? Mayor Ye, it's me, the old Hao from the fertilizer factory. Have you eaten? Mr. Hao asked politely. Not yet. What's the matter? Isn't this just to report something to you? Mr. Niu and Lu Feng had a fight this afternoon, you know. The fight was terrible, and there was a lot of blood. Mr. Hao said tentatively. Ge Quan-shun kept gesturing with his hands, indicating that Mr. Hao would first talk about the fight in the afternoon. Really? I really don't know why the fight is still happening, and the impact is too bad. The county magistrate sighed and said, when the time comes to mediate, these people are really difficult to deal with. That's right, I don't have to worry about it at all. When working with such a person, who can be at ease? There are a lot of things going on all day long. You say that if they fight, it's fine. Sighed, as if disappointed with these companies. What? Who's dead? Magistrate Ye was shocked. If an entrepreneur was involved, he would be charged less money. A gangster got into a fight in the ballroom and accidentally killed him. After hearing this, Magistrate Ye breathed a sigh of relief and said, let the Public Security Bureau handle it then. Compared with them, you are indeed the safe one. I mainly stay with Mr. Ge. Mr. Hao is old, he has seen the world, and he is calm. Mr. Hao praised Mr. Ge and said, Mr. Ye, we have been friends for many years, and I would like to ask, can this contract with the county, right? Mr. Ge has that ability. The county magistrate Ye was ecstatic when he heard this. The first crab finally came, but he still calmed down and said, this is not suitable, and many people have indeed asked me. What's wrong with this? It's not good to do business with anyone like Mr. Ge, who is capable, rich, and relatively stable. There are not many Mr. Hao recommended. Indeed, compared with Lu Feng, Ge is always more stable. It's just that the price is a bit high. We are currently planning to cooperate with 2 companies, and the other one already has a goal. How high is the price? Ge Quan-shun was instantly anxious. There was only one place left. How could he not be in a hurry? And said, Mayor Ye, don't worry, we are absolutely sincere, and the value of the goods plus the security deposit probably needs to be something. Kind of numbers. Magistrate Ye asked Lu Feng for 100 million yuan. This time, he was afraid that the lion would open his mouth and scare Ge Quan-shun away. After thinking about it, he said, I have a good relationship with Mr. Hao. You can tell the price yourself. I think it's about the same. Just fine. GE Quanshun didn't dare to report too low. The business of the Panda factory is still good. There is more than 100 million in the account. The most he can use is about 50 million, but he does not dare to leak the bottom at one time. In terms of the security deposit, you can give 20 million yuan, and the product value can be 50 to 60 million yuan, 60 to 70 million yuan. GE Quanshun cautiously asked, "What do you think?" On the other end of the phone, Magistrate Ye was so excited that he was pinching his thighs. The money came so easily. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 827. But the county magistrate Ye would not agree so easily, and said embarrassingly, "Why don't you talk about it tomorrow? This matter is still being discussed in the county. You should write down your conditions, products, and funds clearly, and then you will be specific." Chat. Maison Ye, that's right. We definitely have no problem in terms of products and funds. Anyway, you can give to anyone. I have always been very grateful, GE Quanshun said solemnly. So, let me tell you, those TV sets are sold, and there is still a deposit. They need to be locked in the county for a period of time. To put it bluntly, it is to invest in other constructions. When that time comes, you can directly use the money to set up here a construction company. Do you understand what I mean? Magistrate Yes' words were rather vague. When GE Quanshun heard this, he subconsciously thought that when the state invested in the construction of the local area, he would use the money to set up a construction company, and the project was all his own, and hurriedly said, "Understood. If you think it's fine, then hurry up. I'm also under a lot of pressure. After all, this matter is not suitable for public speaking. If it is true that before the signing ceremony begins the day after tomorrow, the two companies have already decided, and the signing ceremony will not open. Either way. Okay, you arrange, then I'll go now. Everyone in my team is here, financial, legal and so on," GE Quanshun hurriedly said. Okay, see you in the conference room later." GE Quanshun agreed again and again, thanked him for a while before hanging up the phone. Mr. Hao was already overjoyed, clapped his hands together fiercely, and said, "Those people have no brains, they know how to fight and kill all day long. We are the best partners, Mr. GE, I must have a share this time." "Don't worry, it's definitely yours." "I am the most grateful person." GE Quanshun couldn't stop smiling. How much money does Hao always have? Even if he sold his fertilizer factory, it was only a few $1,000,000. In this transaction, it was really a drop in the bucket. GE Quanshun hurriedly convened the people and held a brief meeting. After making a simple prediction of various possible situations in the county, he went downstairs by car and went straight to the county government. It's pouring rain outside, and the streets in the county are rudimentary. Most of them are dirt roads. GE Quanshun didn't care about the mud on his shoes at all. He came in and chatted a few times and started talking. The whole process was not smooth, but it was by no means difficult. After more than an hour, the two parties reached a contract. GE Quanshun handed over 35 million worth of TV products to the local county government for sale, and paid a 30 million security deposit. As for the guarantee of such a large sum of money, the contract did not clearly state. The contract stipulates that a series of construction work led by the county government, such as local cement roads, highways, parks, squares, shopping malls, etc. Panda must first determine whether he wants to do it before proceeding to the next step, and sign a loan contract with a local bank. The local county government promised that all loans of less than 500 million yuan would be interest-free in the next 5 years. In exchange, all Panda funds in the local area were prohibited from withdrawing from the local area within 5 years, and the money earned was reinvested in the local area. Looking at the contract as a whole, GE Quanshun didn't suffer any losses at all, and even took advantage of it. Although a lot of money and products are being held here, these money and products will eventually go back to his own hands, in exchange for the next first bite of meat in Shenzhen. Ji Quanshun was very happy after reading the contract. With this contract alone, he could go back and double the value of pandas several times. Mr. Niu searched for Lu Feng all night and there was no trace of Lu Feng, and finally he had to go home to rest. Early the next morning, the streets were full of mud, and some potholes collected a lot of rainwater. Several children stepped on it with bare feet, which was extraordinarily happy. The county magistrate ran to the county compound early in the morning, looked at the contract signed last night, and smiled with folds on his face. This is all money. For the whole county, the money comes a burst of energy. But he needs more energy now. Magistrate Ye knows that the richest among these companies is Lu Feng, and it is better to win Lu Feng than to win anyone. First, he held a meeting with the leaders of other departments. On this matter, we must achieve unity of thought. After the meeting, Magistrate Ye decided to take Lu Feng first. After the call was made, Zhu Lidong picked it up, and the county magistrate Ye said to the phone, "Let President Lu answer the phone." "Where are you now?" "I heard something happened. There are some emergencies." "I will ask President Lu to tell you." Zhu Lidong put the phone aside, knocked on Lu Feng's door and said, "President Lu, the county magistrate Ye has called." Lu Feng went out, went to the hotel phone and answered, "Morning Ye, good morning." "Mr. Lu, something happened last night, have you heard?" asked the county magistrate. "What's the matter?" "It was stormy, I was wrapped in a quilt and slept soundly." Lu Feng smiled and said, "Do you have any news to tell me?" "Yesterday, I heard that Mr. Niu was looking for you all over the city, and he found the sunspot. The two sides started to fight, and some people were killed on the spot. All these things happened because of you." The county magistrate sighed and said, "Since you came since then, things have been going on in the county, and I will tell you the truth, we have signed a company for cooperation." Signed, Lu Feng was a little surprised, and his heart suddenly became excited. Finally, someone took advantage of the internet and asked, "Who did you sign with?" "Mr. Lu, I can't be a company that can get a piece of the pie here. You know, soldiers are good, not too much. To be honest, I always think GFN Electronics is very good. If you also think this time the cooperation is very promising, so let's sign it. I keep getting calls from here, and I want this place, and I'm under a lot of pressure," the county magistrate said bitterly, as if it was a special consideration for Lu Feng. "Similar. Thank you so much. I have something to do here. I will go over at noon. As long as you speak, I will agree to any conditions. I will sign directly when I go there, and I will not read anything." Lu Feng couldn't express his pride. "Happy. Then I'll wait for you at noon." After the rain, the sky was clear, and a ray of sunlight pierced the clouds and scattered on the ground. Magistrate Ye looked out through the broken glass window, and he was in a really good mood at the moment. "The weather is good, Kuatai Minan, okay, great. Ha 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 ha." Magistrate Ye took a sip of tea from the enamel cup on the table, and couldn't stop smiling. Lu Feng hung up the phone, stood there for a while, turned his head and said to Zhu Lidong, "You don't have to stay here. Besides this county, which place did we choose?" "In addition to Huiran, we also chose a county called Renhu," Zhu Lidong replied. "Okay, then you can go there and settle the subsidy matter. There should be nothing to do here within 3 to 5 days. If these people are all tied up here, we will have no opponents except Chang Hong." "It's over." Lu Feng patted Zhu Lidong on the shoulder and said, "I have already helped you kill 90% of your opponents. If you still can't do it, I can't do anything about it." "Mr. Lu, don't worry," Zhu Lidong said decisively. "Then go ahead and take all those people away," Lu Feng said, picked up the phone to call Mr. Niu, but suddenly realized that he didn't have his number, and asked, "Mr. Niu, give me a call. Mr. Liu, why don't I keep a few people for you? It's really impossible to find a few bodyguards. It's really dangerous here, Zhu Lidong worried. It's not a big deal, Lu Feng waved his hand to signal him not to worry. After the call was made, Mr. Niu's voice came over, and it sounded like he was in a bad mood. Who? Mr. Niu, it's me, Lu Feng said with a smile. I heard that you were looking for me all over the city last night. I think I am very powerful, majestic. I tell you something, I will sign a contract with the county soon, and I will win in the end, you know. Mr. Niu on the phone was annoyed, but in terms of being irritating, Lu Feng was the most annoying that Mr. Niu had encountered in recent decades. You signed a contract with the county? Huh? Do you really think we're a jerk? What kind of thing are you? Don't you just have a few broken sheep? Let me tell you, you are nothing in my eyes. Don't say you, even Huang Angshen's gang, they are nothing, and it's not good to say it. I spend more money on underwear every year than you have assets, understand? Lu Feng leaned on the counter and held the phone. Don't compare your money to me, you don't even deserve to give me shoes. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Mr. Niu was already angry, and he knew that he was incomparable to these people, but when Lu Feng said it so directly, he was hitting him in the face. During this time, he had been with Lu Feng, Huang Hongsheng, Li Dongsheng, and the others. I always felt like I was on an equal footing with them. But now it was revealed. Picking up the phone on the table, Mr. Niu himself couldn't overwhelm Lu Feng when it came to money, but Huang Hongsheng and a few people could, not to mention that Lu Feng was about to run to sign the contract, and it was a critical moment. After the call was connected, Mr. Niu said directly, I contacted Lu Feng, but that idiot actually scolded us. He scolded you even more harshly on the phone. Mr. Niu scolded the phone, and his heart was almost out of anger. Huang Angshen's face on the other end of the phone was extremely ugly. If you have something to say, he can just scold him. Why convey it? I'm so angry, how can I say that? And I also got news that Lu Feng has reached a preliminary intention with the county and is about to sign a contract. This must be stopped, Mr. Niu said anxiously. What? Sign a contract? Yes, I heard that the county has decided to cooperate with the two companies, and the others will stop working. Even if they sign up later, it is not as good as the first batch. Mr. Niu said with an oath, that he doesn't care about anything now, just one thing, to encourage Huang Hongsheng and a few people to kill Lu Feng with money, only then can he let out a sigh of relief. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 828. But the county magistrate Ye would not agree so easily, and said embarrassingly, why don't you talk about it tomorrow? This matter is still being discussed in the county. You should write down your conditions, products, and funds clearly, and then you will be specific. Chat. Maison Ye, that's right. We definitely have no problem in terms of products and funds. Anyway, you can give to anyone. I have always been very grateful, Ge Quanshun said solemnly. So, let me tell you, those TV sets are sold, and there is still a deposit. They need to be locked in the county for a period of time. To put it bluntly, it is to invest in other constructions. When that time comes, you can directly use the money to set up here a construction company. Do you understand what I mean? Magistrate Yes words were rather vague. When Ge Quanshun heard this, he subconsciously thought that when the state invested in the construction of the local area, he would use the money to set up a construction company, and the project was all his own, and hurriedly said, understood. If you think it's fine, then hurry up. I'm also under a lot of pressure. After all, This matter is not suitable for public speaking. If it is true that before the signing ceremony begins the day after tomorrow, the two companies have already decided, and the signing ceremony will not open. Either way. Okay, you arrange, then I'll go now. Everyone in my team is here, financial, legal and so on, Ge Quan-shun hurriedly said. Okay, see you in the conference room later. Ge Quan-shun agreed again and again, thanked him for a while before hanging up the phone. Mr. Hao was already overjoyed, clapped his hands together fiercely, and said, "Those people have no brains, they know how to fight and kill all day long. We are the best partners, Mr. Ge, I must have a share this time." "Don't worry, it's definitely yours." "I am the most grateful person." Ge Quan-shun couldn't stop smiling. How much money does Hao always have? Even if he sold his fertilizer factory, it was only a few $1,000,000. In this transaction, it was really a drop in the bucket. Ge Quan-shun hurriedly convened the people and held a brief meeting. After making a simple prediction of various possible situations in the county, he went downstairs by car and went straight to the county government. It's pouring rain outside, and the streets in the county are rudimentary. Most of them are dirt roads. Ge Quan-shun didn't care about the mud on his shoes at all. He came in and chatted a few times and started talking. The whole process was not smooth, but it was by no means difficult. After more than an hour, the two parties reached a contract. Ge Quan-shun handed over 35 million worth of TV products to the local county government for sale, and paid a 30 million security deposit. As for the guarantee of such a large sum of money, the contract did not clearly state. The contract stipulates that a series of construction work led by the county government, such as local cement roads, highways, parks, squares, shopping malls, etc. Panda must first determine whether he wants to do it before proceeding to the next step, and sign a loan contract with a local bank. The local county government promised that all loans of less than 500 million yuan would be interest-free in the next 5 years. In exchange, all Panda funds in the local area were prohibited from withdrawing from the local area within 5 years, and the money earned was reinvested in the local area. Looking at the contract as a whole, Ge Quan-shun didn't suffer any losses at all, and even took advantage of it. Although a lot of money and products are being held here, these money and products will eventually go back to his own hands, in exchange for the next first bite of meat in Shenzhen. Ge Quan-shun was very happy after reading the contract. With this contract alone, he could go back and double the value of Panda several times. Mr. Niu searched for Lu Feng all night and there was no trace of Lu Feng, and finally he had to go home to rest. Early the next morning, the streets were full of mud, and some potholes collected a lot of rainwater. Several children stepped on it with bare feet, which was extraordinarily happy. The county magistrate ran to the county compound early in the morning, looked at the contract signed last night, and smiled with folds on his face. This is all money. For the whole county, the money comes a burst of energy. But he needs more energy now. Magistrate Ye knows that the richest among these companies is Lu Feng, and it is better to win Lu Feng than to win anyone. First, he held a meeting with the leaders of other departments. On this matter, we must achieve unity of thought. After the meeting, Magistrate Ye decided to take Lu Feng first. After the call was made, Zhu Lidong picked it up, and the county magistrate Ye said to the phone, "Let President Lu answer the phone." "Where are you now?" "I heard something happened. There are some emergencies." "I will ask President Lu to tell you." Zhu Lidong put the phone aside, knocked on Lu Feng's door and said, "President Lu, the county magistrate Ye has called." Lu Feng went out, went to the hotel phone and answered, "Morning Ye, good morning." "Mr. Lu, something happened last night, have you heard?" asked the county magistrate. "What's the matter?" "It was stormy, I was wrapped in a quilt and slept soundly." Lu Feng smiled and said, "Do you have any news to tell me?" "Yesterday, I heard that Mr. Niu was looking for you all over the city, and he found the sunspot. The two sides started to fight, and some people were killed on the spot. All these things happened because of you, the county magistrate sighed and said, since you came since then, things have been going on in the county, and I will tell you the truth, we have signed a company for cooperation. Signed, Lu Feng was a little surprised, and his heart suddenly became excited. Finally, someone took advantage of the internet and asked, who did you sign with? Mr. Lu, I can't be a company that can get a piece of the pie here. You know, soldiers are good, not too much. To be honest, I always think GFN Electronics is very good. If you also think this time the cooperation is very promising, so let's sign it. I keep getting calls from here, and I want this place, and I'm under a lot of pressure, the county magistrate said bitterly, as if it was a special consideration for Lu Feng. Similar. Thank you so much. I have something to do here. I will go over at noon. As long as you speak, I will agree to any conditions. I will sign directly when I go there, and I will not read anything. Lu Feng couldn't express his pride. Happy. Then I'll wait for you at noon. After the rain, the sky was clear, and a ray of sunlight pierced the clouds and scattered on the ground. Magistrate Ye looked out through the broken glass window, and he was in a really good mood at the moment. The weather is good, Kuatai Minan, okay, great. Ha 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 ha, Magistrate Ye took a sip of tea from the enamel cup on the table, and couldn't stop smiling. Lu Feng hung up the phone, stood there for a while, turned his head and said to Zhu Lidong, you don't have to stay here, besides this county, which place did we choose? In addition to Huiran, we also chose a county called Renhu, as Zhu Lidong replied. Okay, then you can go there and settle the subsidy matter. There should be nothing to do here within 3 to 5 days. If these people are all tied up here, we will have no opponents except Chang Hong. It's over. Lu Feng patted Zhu Lidong on the shoulder and said, I have already helped you kill 90% of your opponents. If you still can't do it, I can't do anything about it. Mr. Lu, don't worry, Zhu Lidong said decisively. Then go ahead and take all those people away, Lu Feng said, picked up the phone to call Mr. Niu, but suddenly realized that he didn't have his number, and asked, Mr. Niu, give me a call. Mr. Lu, why don't I keep a few people for you? It's really impossible to find a few bodyguards. It's really dangerous here, Zhu Lidong worried. It's not a big deal, Lu Feng waved his hand to signal him not to worry. After the call was made, Mr. Niu's voice came over, and it sounded like he was in a bad mood. Who? Mr. Niu, it's me, Lu Feng said with a smile. I heard that you were looking for me all over the city last night. I think I am very powerful, majestic. I tell you something, I will sign a contract with the county soon, and I will win in the end, you know. Mr. Niu on the phone was annoyed, but in terms of being irritating, Lu Feng was the most annoying that Mr. Niu had encountered in recent decades. You signed a contract with the county? Huh? Do you really think we're a jerk? What kind of thing are you? Don't you just have a few broken sheep? Let me tell you, you are nothing in my eyes. Don't say you, even Huang Angshen's gang, they are nothing, and it's not good to say it. I spend more money on underwear every year than you have assets, understand? Lu Feng leaned on the counter and held the phone. Don't compare your money to me, you don't even deserve to give me shoes. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Mr. Niu was already angry, and he knew that he was incomparable to these people, but when Lu Feng said it so directly, he was hitting him in the face. During this time, he had been with Lu Feng, Huang Hongsheng, Li Dongsheng, and the others. I always felt like I was on an equal footing with them. But now it was revealed. Picking up the phone on the table, Mr. Niu himself couldn't overwhelm Lu Feng when it came to money, but Huang Hongsheng and a few others could, not to mention that Lu Feng was about to run to sign the contract, and it was a critical moment. After the call was connected, Mr. Niu said directly, I contacted Lu Feng, but that idiot actually scolded us. He scolded you even more harshly on the phone. Mr. Niu scolded the phone, and his heart was almost out of anger. Huang Angshen's face on the other end of the phone was extremely ugly. If you have something to say, he can just scold him. Why convey it? I'm so angry, how can I say that? And I also got news that Lu Feng has reached a preliminary intention with the county and is about to sign a contract. This must be stopped, Mr. Niu said anxiously. What? Sign a contract? Yes, I heard that the county has decided to cooperate with the two companies, and the others will stop working. Even if they sign up later, it is not as good as the first batch. Mr. Niu said with an oath, that he doesn't care about anything now, just one thing, to encourage Huang Hongsheng and a few people to kill Lu Feng with money, only then can he let out a sigh of relief. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 829. Huang Hongsheng and the others became anxious when they heard this. This time, it was really the moment of life and death, and they really had a fire in their hearts. It's so suffocating, it's really too suffocating, it's the first time I've been bullied so much when I've grown so big, and it's the first time I've been called a man. A scholar can be killed but not humiliated, but Huang Hongsheng and several others have forgotten the most basic thing about a businessman, that is, calmness and a hot head will lead to fatal mistakes. Huang Hongsheng and several people are going crazy now. The scenes from yesterday are constantly stimulating several people. If there is a chance to kill Lu Feng without taking a gun, Lu Feng does not know how many times he has died at this moment. Several people called the master to rush to the county government compound. The county magistrate learned that Huang Hongsheng and a group of people had arrived in the meeting room and waited. He was in the meeting and said to everyone, President Huang, President Li, and President Chen have already arrived, and I have almost said what I should have ordered just now. In that sentence, this year's plan has changed, and we are also a thunderbolt, and we are rich in the blink of an eye. We must take a long-term view, build one of the top 10 counties in the country, learn from Huaxi village, introduce new industries, and embrace the new era, so much to say, first go receive it. The county magistrate stood up and walked out, followed by two middle-aged men. He turned his head and gave a few orders, and walked towards the conference room. Opening the door, magistrate saw a few people with bruised noses and swollen faces. He was stunned and said, Welcome to the bosses, what's wrong with their faces? Mayor please take a seat. It wasn't raining last night. The road was too slippery, and I accidentally fell. Huang Hongsheng smiled and said, These are not important. I came here today to chat with the county. As for the cooperation, tomorrow will be the signing ceremony. Which one do you intend to sign with? Since Mr. Huang asked, I'll tell you the truth. We've already signed up for one. As for which one, I'm inconvenient to say. There is still one place available, the county magistrate said hesitantly. Speak from your heart, you are all very good entrepreneurs, and you are also very powerful. Once the construction in the county starts, a large number of enterprises will definitely need to settle in, and there is no need for everyone to rush to this node before the announcement. I can understand that it is difficult for you, so let me first ask, is the quota for the second company going to GFN Electronics? Li Dongsheng asked. It hasn't been decided yet, but the three of you, it's very difficult. Magistrate took out a cigarette from his pocket and put it on the table. They all smoke. The door of the conference room was pushed open, and Mr. Niu stepped in and said, Where are the three companies? I am also one, but we can combine them into one and form a joint stock company, and we will take the shares. Magistrate raised his head and glanced at President Niu, and said solemnly, I heard that you made trouble yesterday. Did you die in the dance hall? How is that possible? Where did you hear the news? Mr. Niu snorted twice with a smile. sat down and said, "A relative of mine who doesn't walk around very much was playing in the dance hall, and something happened, the police. The bureau has already been kidnapped, and the people in the county can really spread the word." Magistrate Ye glanced at the quartz clock hanging on the wall. It was already 10:30 in the morning. Why didn't Lu Feng come? What he thought was very simple. In the past 2 days, not only Lu Feng, but also Huang Hongshen, Li Dongshen, and Chen Weirong had to sign a separate contract. Yes, he wants it all. This is also a way, but Mr. Niu, don't get involved. They are all from the county, and Mr. Hao's family will not participate in this, the county magistrate said to Mr. Niu. That's what it means to look at President Niu. Huang Hongsheng had already heard that Magistrate Ye didn't want President Niu to be involved, but he had come this far, and the meat was already on his lips. Who would give up? Shouldn't we take care of the locals first? Why are non-locals more popular? Mr. Niu stared, and he was about to get angry. Magistrate Ye didn't want to say more, in case something was missed. How did you know about this? The county magistrate Ye suddenly remembered that he hadn't called them yet. I signed Lu Feng in the morning, 2 in the afternoon and evening, and 1 in the morning. I didn't expect them to come here. Someone called to show it off. Chen Weirong smiled and said, "Ye county magistrate, don't say what quota is reserved for anyone. Anyway, there is only one left. It's different whether you come first or come in later. It's just land and engineering. These can eat a lot of sweetness, and we don't know any leaders here, otherwise we wouldn't be grinding and wasting in the county." Mr. Chen's words are reasonable. Magistrate Ye had to nod. So, let's open the skylight and say something bright. We will partner up and start a company. The price will definitely be more beautiful than Lu Feng. How about letting him come in later? Chen Weirong gave a plan. When things get to this point, it's nothing more than throwing money at it. Men, the one who fights in the end is rich and powerful. Lu Feng's car parked at the entrance of the county compound, got out of the car and went inside directly. He lay in front of the glass of the county office and glanced at it. He tapped the glass with his hand and asked, "Where is the county magistrate yet?" Inside, a woman in her 30s raised her head and glanced at Lu Feng, recognized it, and said, "It seems to be in the conference room." Without waiting for her to speak, Lu Feng walked towards the conference room. When he reached the door, he heard that Chen Weirong was going to throw money at him. He pushed the door with his hand and said, "You guys are fast, run here to copy." "I'm here." The door was suddenly pushed open, and the people present were startled. When they saw Lu Feng, Mr. Niu's face quickly became ugly, and he said coldly, "Mr. Lu, are you still alive?" "Thanks to you, I'm still panting." Mr. Niu is worthy of being a local existence with only one hand covering the sky. He killed someone last night and is still sitting here talking today, Lu Feng teased. "Who killed someone?" Mr. Niu clapped the table, stood up and was about to make a move, and shouted, "Try again, do you spit blood?" Lu Feng took 2 steps back and said, "Are you here to fight me?" Magistrate Ye's face was ugly, and he looked at the insoluble appearance of the 2 sides and said solemnly, "Where do you take this? Do you take me for air?" "It's not against you, I'm here to talk about cooperation," Lu Feng hurriedly explained. "Talk about cooperation? You humming deserve it? Let me tell you, Lu Feng, your contract is completely yellow. Even if you sign it quietly with the county, and call me, if you dare to disgust us, don't be afraid of us running on it." "You," Huang Hongsheng said gloomily, "I will always be a few dollars higher than you. If you have something to say, just say it, don't be so loud," the county magistrate said with some dissatisfaction. "This is not the place for you to quarrel. Xiang Xian Ye, I know that this right is in your hands, but today I made it clear face to face with gongs and drums, the same company, our price is higher than his. If you don't choose us, believe it or not, we will sue you." Chen Weirong Yi he patted the table and shouted, Go to petition. Magistrate Ye glanced at Lu Feng, his face was more bitter than a bitter gourd. He took a deep breath as if to calm the matter down, but his heart had already blossomed with joy. Calm down, it's 11 o'clock soon, let's have lunch together, asked the county magistrate. If you don't eat, let's talk about the contract and decided today. Li Dongsheng didn't give in at all, and asked Lu Feng, how much was your previous contract? That's right, the county feels that both the product and the deposit, don't put too much cash pressure on the company. If the product is worth 35 million, the deposit is 20 million. County Mayor Ye gave his own amount. Hearing these two figures, Lu Feng cursed inwardly for a while. It's really humming useless, he's already done his job, and he needs so much money. From this point of view, Lu Feng knew that Magistrate Ye was a man without dreams. For these three companies, the cash that can be used by each company should be about 100 million yuan, and the three companies are 300 million yuan. As for the tens of millions of goods, the restraint on them is not as powerful as cash. If it can contain the cash flow of each family of 50 million, the life behind Wiaputa will be much more comfortable. I can double these two numbers, Lu Feng said directly. Magistrate Ye was startled by this, and turned his face to stare at Lu Feng with a shocked face. He was really rich, and he had hundreds of millions of dollars with just one mouth. Niu always knew that there was a big gap between himself and these people, but now Lu Feng opened his mouth, and he was still shocked. It was not hundreds of thousands, millions, but hundreds of millions of dollars. A fraction here is enough for the total worth of the cattle. Huang Hongshen, Chen Weirong, and Li Dongshen know Jiafeng Electronics very well. They know where the cash flow that Lu Feng can use now is limited. Jiafeng Electronics is rich. Just considering the cash flow that Lu Feng has made in the past few years, the three of them can't get that much out of one piece. The problem is that he spends a lot. The three of them secretly estimated that Lu Feng could take up to 100 million in cash, which is already the limit, and the three of them put together 100 million, the pressure is there, but not so much. In terms of goods, we are all about the same. I believe that the county cares more about the security deposit. Sufficient cash flow is the only way to support a company's development and investment in the local area in the future. You said just now that you doubled it, and the security deposit is 20 million to 40 million. I will add the number, 50 million. His Magistrate Ye and Mr. Niu breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. They were obviously shocked. 50 million in cash? Niu always felt that he was going to make a fortune. As long as he followed these three people together and raised any sheep, he had no future at all. He felt that he could make a fortune by serving tea and water to them. Magistrate Ye has only one sentence left in his heart at this moment: he is rich, he is rich, he is really rich. Lu Feng stared at the three of them, and could see that they were angry, and sneered, then I will add 10 million. Isn't Mr. Lu rich? 10 million or 10 million plus. Do you look down on me? Li Dongsheng stood up and said with his finger, Lu Feng, isn't it very arrogant yesterday? If you come out, you have to pay it back, we will pay 80 million. Don't hesitate, continue to add. Chen Weirong smiled treacherously, isn't it very powerful? Is it arrogant? Let me see how arrogant you can be today, I will kill you with money. Magistrate Ye and President Niu didn't dare to speak anymore, they sat there looking down at the table. This number was not something they could participate in anymore. I'll pay 100 million, Lu Feng gritted his teeth and roared, there is something to keep adding, I'm afraid of you. We give 110 million. HTT.